Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love, with no artificial sweeteners, only 30 calories, just 5 grams of sugar, and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. That great Pepsi taste with even more to love. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist, and I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
Hello, I am Brooke Brigham, the attorney.
So we are here, and today we are talking about sister wives. So Brooke did some research. She went in and said to see which episodes are people downloading the most, and the people have spoken. You have all pretty much
a landslide
by a landslide. Sad but true. The people love Sister Wives, and
we love Sister Wives too.
We do.
We're obsessed with this show.
Yeah,
we have been going back and watching all the previous 16 seasons. We talk about it all the time, so we're equally obsessed.
Yes.
So we're glad that everyone is on board with that.
I sadly can't say it's not me, because it is me. It is me too. But yeah, I went back and I actually know all the kids' names and in the order. So I don't have to ask you, like, who's that again? Which kid is that?
Yeah.
So I went back and I'm still in the middle of my rewatch, but the rewatch is utterly fascinating. And it's only fascinating because of what we're seeing today. So the last time we did a catch up on Sister Wives, we talked about season 17 up to and through episode 9. So today we're going to talk about episode 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, which was this week's episode. So let's just dive right in. It is a lot. And episode 10 is knife in the kidneys. The greatest line on television.
Yeah. And it was quite a performance.
It was. It has been.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, what really was interesting. So we start off this episode with they're all on Christine's back porch. We're still in the deck chairs.
This is part 2 of the conversation on Christine's back porch,
where she tells them, I'm leaving in a week. The house is sold. I'm leaving in a week. See ya. And everybody is there. Janelle and Meri and Robyn are there as well. And what hit me right away was Kody. Kody seems to be really using Christine's sister wives, her opening line in the show, her tagline against her, right? Because she says, I didn't want the relationship. I didn't want the man. I wanted the family. And here he is, him saying to her and throwing it back in her face, like, you wanted the family more than the man. And then he's upset and lashing out because she wasn't.
He's saying you wanted the man, not the family, because she's so concerned about her relationship with him.
Oh, that's what he said? I thought he kept saying, what was irritating me is he kept flip-flopping back and forth. He's mad because I'm shocked and amazed that we're getting this divorce, and I don't even know where it's coming, and all you care about is the man and this relationship, and you don't want to have a relationship with these other people. And because you didn't, I don't explain Kody's argument to me, because apparently I don't understand it at this stage.
It makes no sense. It goes back and forth. He comes up with these catchy phrases that he wants to use against her. And then you could just tell he spent so much time seething over this and coming up with things to say to her, because it's just one thing after the next. And so he said it wasn't about the family, just the man. And so he's saying that, she was, I guess, too focused on her relationship with him. I don't know what that means, but it kind of, neither does Kody. He is just coming up with mean things to say.
Well, what's so interesting about this and what Christine says that I think is huge is that she says, I just couldn't be heartbroken anymore. I'm heartbroken. And I just couldn't be heartbroken anymore. And the sense is, right, that she's been heartbroken over this relationship with him for a decade. And her kids are grown, and and the fact that her kids are grown and she doesn't have these little kids and they're not in each other's lives so much anymore, all the families, it became apparent to her, right, that there was no relationship with him. And I think that was right. That was her realization that my children are all going to be gone someday. And if all I have is this relationship with you, if this is the extent of it, is just going to be our relationship, then what do I have here? And I'm not going to wait till Truly is graduated from high school and off at college to be happy.
Yeah. And Janelle's kids, who she helped raise, they're all gone too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, anyone who goes back and watches all the previous seasons knows that, as we've said many times, from day one, she has been unhappy to a certain degree. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Well, and sorry, I don't want to get too far off track here, but I was trying to think of in going back and looking at old episodes, I was watching season 13, which is the season where Kody tells them he wants to move. And he's not sure yet where they're going to move. He just says they're going to move. He just can't be in Las Vegas anymore. And he doesn't want to be there. He never wanted to be there to begin with. They were just fleeing Utah, and he really wants to move. And in that season, I felt like all of the wives seemed pretty good with each other and seemed pretty happy, and everybody was happy in Las Vegas, and nobody wanted to move. Nobody wanted to leave. And, he had to basically tell them, well, sorry, I'm the leader of this family and I'm going to lead us out of here. And that was just the beginning of the end, because they were all happy. The children were happy. The wives were happy. And then they moved to Flagstaff, and nothing went right. Kody just overshot everything, buying that property that they couldn't afford. They don't have the kind of money to build anything. Yeah. These people, they don't have that much money, clearly.
Well, we're going to get into the money when we get into that later. But no, you're right. And one thing that he says is he admits in this episode, I didn't love her. And, I think that that's one thing. If you watch all the episodes, I haven't gotten up to season 13 yet, but if you watch any of the episodes, especially the old episodes, Christine has always really loved him. Christine has always, I think, really been attracted to him and kind of goo goo gaga, into him. So, that's the part that it just kind of kills me is that she really, really loved you, and she didn't want to be in this relationship with you. And so who are you really mad at, Kody? Are you mad because she's leaving, or are you mad because she's leaving you? And I also added a new one, which is, I got the sense when I was watching episode 10 again, which is, or are you mad that she can leave and you can't?
Yeah. Yeah, because he claims to have never been attracted to her and all that kind of stuff. Yet he's so heartbroken. He keeps saying, I'm heartbroken. I'm devastated. I don't want this. He vacillates between saying these mean things about her and then, acting like he's heartbroken. And it's like, well, which is it? I mean, he's all over the place and doesn't even seem to notice.
Yeah. Well, and so when he gets up and he starts yelling at Christine, one of the things that he says is about Robyn that, Christine treated Robyn like dirt, which we all know if we've watched the show. is not true. We have not seen her treat Robyn like dirt. Unless she, waited till the camera stopped rolling and then treated Robyn like crap and then turned it back on when the cameras came back. We never saw that. But what really bothers me about this, and Robyn has said this, we've heard her say this, which is when she does not want to get involved in the other wives' relationships. But the problem is that in that moment in time, when Kody is turning to Christine and saying, you treated Robyn like dirt, why isn't Robyn standing up and saying, no, that's not true? Because Robyn in her confessionals has said, no, that's not true. Christine hasn't treated me that way. That's not what I've seen. That's not what's going on. But why can't you in that moment? And it's like, is it because you believe that you shouldn't be commenting on it ever? It was just, during that big speech, she needs to stand up and say, no, that's not true.
Yeah, I think she knows that she can't stand up to him, like at least not publicly, maybe in private, but she knows that he is so wrapped up in being the leader, the head of the family, the patriarch, whatever, that would be totally embarrassing for him, for her to say something in front of everybody. But yeah, you're right. I don't know why she doesn't at least
say something.
Stick up for Christine a little bit.
Yeah. But then of course he said the second only to the knife and the kidneys is the sacrifices. Like, I wish I could do it the way he did it. Like, it was like partially broken up.
Yeah. The sacrifice I made
for you to love you.
To love you.
Wasted.
Well, you didn't do a very good job loving her, Kody. I'm sorry. But yeah, and then he says so many strange things. He says, thank you for coming into the family and helping with the mess I was in, which
I think is the relationship with Meri and Janelle.
Right. And Meri, they cut to Meri in a confessional saying, well, that stung because she knew what he was talking about. And she said that when she first got into the relationship, when Janelle came in, she was very jealous. And right then I was kind of like, then why didn't you just, why didn't you leave then? Like, these people have created such a mess. Like, if you realized you were jealous and it didn't work for you, why did you stay? I don't know.
Are you talking about Meri?
Meri, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Meri stuff is,
and Christine. I mean, the both of them. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't think Janelle really got very jealous, but yeah. And he says he also said it was a blessing that you came into the family, and I guess it's a blessing that you're leaving too.
Yeah.
I mean, where does he come up with this stuff?
Well, and then that's, Robyn kept asking the same question over and over again about like her relationship and her kids' relationship with the family. And it's just like, obviously, and Christine acknowledges this later on in a future episode. She does acknowledge like, oh, I guess I misunderstood that. I wasn't rejecting her children. I wasn't saying that. I was just sort of saying, for now, I need some space.
Well, this is another thing that really bothers me about when they're talking. It really bugs me. All of them do this. Well, not all. I shouldn't say all of them. It's mostly Kody and Robyn. But they use terminology like, some people in this family haven't been very nice to other people in this family. And like Robyn's talking about, oh, well, the people who you have good relationships with, why don't you just name names?
Yeah.
Just say, are you interested in having a relationship with me and my children?
Yeah. Thank you.
That's probably why Christine was confused, because she's not speaking proper English. She's just say the people's names, and they do it all the time. And then when Kody talks to Janelle a few episodes later at the restaurant, he did that throughout the whole entire thing, talking about, well, some people and these people and this person, just say their names.
Yeah.
You know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
And so Robyn gets upset. Robyn leaves. And then Meri runs after Robyn, says nothing to Christine.
Yeah, doesn't say goodbye.
Yeah. And so this is the part about Meri that I have I know a lot of people have feelings about Meri. I don't hate her. People have these really strong feelings. But this is one of the things about Meri that I find very confusing, which is that it's a very a very teenage thing to do, which is to not say goodbye to Christine or have some sort of resolution with her, but to run after Robyn and then be there for her and cry with her. Yeah. It's a little bit of, okay, this is how you're ending this. It just was so bizarre. So then from this whole conversation that happens, we see Janelle out on the land. We're back to Coyote Pass.
In her RV.
Yeah. And so I think this is the first episode that we see in a while where Janelle really kind of starts to break down what's going on. Because I'm with Kody in terms of, I always thought the RV was a weird choice. I didn't quite understand why she wanted to get this RV and put it on the land, thinking that was going to inspire people to build on the land. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt like maybe in the back of her mind, she felt like, I need to make Kody so uncomfortable that he is forced to build on this land with me, I guess, and thinking, I'm going to make him be out here in this RV until he gets it together. But this is the one where she talks about how she has no independent assets. Mm-hmm. Half the proceeds from her Vegas house went to Robyn to purchase for Robyn to purchase her home, and now Kody's saying, we don't have any money.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of like, so we later learned that Janelle gave half the proceeds from her Vegas house to Robyn. Meri gave the proceeds of her Vegas house to Robyn for Robyn to get in this house, which leaves Meri, I think, has that in. So she has an asset, but that it does. Janelle's not, wrong that she has no assets. She's gotten so screwed in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And because she's always the one who is accommodating and trying to save money and trying to be prudent. And she's just, she doesn't deserve this at all. No, she doesn't. But this is a classic example of someone who, right, like that kind of too big of a people pleaser. She's been trying to please too many people, and you've got a lot of people in that family, like Meri, like Kody, that have very expensive tastes.
Yeah.
If it was just up to Meri and Kody, God knows what kind of lifestyle they would be living. But it's really been Christine and Janelle that's kept them on track and kept them from going under. And this shows that the episodes that I've been rewatching, I'm up to like season 8, is a lot of those episodes were about these Vegas homes. Yeah. And it was like, my God, you finally, it took you 2 years to figure out how to do this. You found these homes, you built them from scratch. You each personalized each home for what you wanted. Now you're in this perfect cul-de-sac. Why? Why did you all leave that? Like, that's the part that makes no sense whatsoever. And that, anyway, that's a whole other ball of wax. Yeah,
there's a lot of speculation about why, but you know what? It could have been financially motivated, or it could have just been Kody's ego. Mm-hmm. When he decides to do something, he's going to do it, and he didn't want to be there anymore. But Meri's house, how she had that 5-bedroom house.
Oh, the Vegas house?
Yeah. For basically just her, because Mariah went off to college, shortly after they moved in. And then the houses that she's been renting in Flagstaff are, again, these huge, 4 or 5 bedroom houses, like $5,000 a month rent. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we fast forward to today's episode. Janelle is literally living in like student housing.
Yes.
My daughter's apartment is like twice as big as that place for one person. Yeah. I mean, it's awful. But anyway, back to this.
This is pretty much this episode. Just in terms of time, we need to move along. And then, we see Kody and Robyn. Were there, Ariel went to kindergarten for the first time, and they're reminiscing about the fact that this is their last child that they're going to have that's going off into kindergarten. And that was the end of the episode.
I want to say something about, because we don't really get to see them interact with these little kids very much. I mean, now these last few episodes, it's been more, but it was just kind of interesting to see them interact and how, doting Kody is to these little kids. And, he doesn't like people he can't control. And once his kids reach a certain age and he can't control them anymore, he loses interest, but he just loves to control these little kids.
Well, but that's the other part. As I was looking up the ages of Aurora and Brianna and Dayton, I'm like, how old are these kids? Like, I guess Dayton's 22. Aurora is 20.
Like 20, yeah.
She's 20 now. So even if this was a year ago, she was 19. But it is interesting to see, like, Aurora and Brianna are very, they do revere Kody the same way their mom reveres Kody. I'm sorry, but those two have always been, way too into Kody for someone not being your birth father.
Oh, yeah. They're very, I think, brainwashed into, he's the all powerful. And also, too, why it seems to me like Robyn doesn't want her kids to leave home.
Yeah.
Why can't they? So I think, I don't know if he's graduated yet, but I think Dayton is still at that Northern Arizona University, which is in Flagstaff. And Aurora's 20. She must be going to school somewhere.
Yeah.
Why can't they go live in a dorm or, have a normal life? Like, why does she have to keep, again, this control?
Mm-hmm.
All the other Brown kids went off to college. They didn't.
Yeah, none of them lived at home while they went to college. Even Logan went to UNLV and he went off and lived in the dorms.
He lived in the dorms.
Yeah, I thought that was really odd. I mean, you hear them say that Brianna, this was her final year. So I guess Brianna must have graduated in 2022 this year. So from high school. But yeah, it is, that part's really bizarre. It is, but you see it very clearly right then and there how doting, and he's the dad and he's like, let's all go inside and have dinner tonight. Like, none of the other kids ever got that, kind of sort of nucleus family.
Yeah, right.
They're kind of this traditional, monogamous family. Well, yeah. Let's move on to episode 11, The Worst Goodbye,
yes.
Where McKelty, I guess, got some advice from like a therapist or something that said people need closure and goodbyes. So these people have to have this goodbye. So I guess at the beginning of this episode, Kody is mad. Kody is still very mad. He's mad that Janelle wants a relationship with Christine. Mm-hmm. And they are actually out by Coyote Pass and talking about the RV drama. And Janelle starts bringing up something that, I think we've always suspected, but is really what the truth is that, in order for this family to work, the wives have to have a certain amount of independence. Mm-hmm. And that they cannot wait for their husbands to come around and make decisions, because decisions have to be made. And she basically said, I told him about this RV. I talked to him about it, that he's not around enough. And the times that he's around, he's not tuned in. Mm-hmm. Meaning that when he is around, he's on his phone, he's doing other things, he's not paying attention.
Right. So
she mentioned all of this RV stuff to him many, many times, and maybe even said to him, I'm going to go do it. Here I go. And it's an interesting thing, because it's almost kind of like, you could have stopped her before she bought the RV and said to her, like, hey, oh, wow, this is really happening. Okay, let's stop and talk about it. It's almost like, well, she was going to do this RV thing, so I just need to make her do it. And that's just kind of how it is. And I have no control. And here she is. And then he's mad at her about everything that pertains to the RV. And it's like, well, told her she shouldn't have done it. How, now it's a little bit of this. I don't know. It's almost like he doesn't want something, but he doesn't really give a definitive answer. And then when you go for it, then he's mad at you that you did it. And he's going to really make you pay for it. And he's going to keep complaining about it. And that's been a bit of who he is that just kind of reacting to things, always constantly reacting, never being ever proactive or thoughtful about what you're doing before you do it. And And that's the thing is that most people would have either said something to Janelle. Most partners, most whomever it would be, would say something to the effect of, let's stop, let's talk about this. Maybe the RV is not a great idea. But then if the partner went and got the RV, then you'd be like, okay, they got the RV. I got to just support them in this, right? It's if you think about it of like someone who gets a puppy or someone who gets into a bad relationship, right? You can express your thoughts, but once it's there and it's happening, it's a little bit of like, you know, you have to then be supportive. Kody's the opposite. Kody does the opposite of that.
Yeah, I know. It almost makes me think like, did she buy that RV with her quote unquote own money? I still don't know. It seems to me like they have family money and then they have their own money, because he was, you know, in the upcoming episode, he is saying to Janelle how they should buy Christine's house. And Janelle's like, no, I don't have enough money to do that and build on Coyote Pass. And it's like, he's trying to get her to use her money to buy this house. That's what it sounded like to me. So maybe he couldn't stop her. I'd give anything to have a show about money.
Yes, and just the money.
Just the money and how that all works. I want Janelle to do a special episode on that whole thing.
Then we see Mykelti, Tony, and Avalon. Avalon's such a cutie. She is so adorable.
She is.
And so here we go. Mykelti, Tony, and Avalon are in the backyard at Robyn and Kody's house. And here is a great example of Christine not influencing how someone feels. This is Christine's daughter, Mykelti. Mykelti sits down and she just says, like, I support my mom. I support you. I mean, so you're right there, Kody. You're seeing the whole thing. You're pissed at Christine because you feel like she is getting your kids to hate you for whatever, you know, you think you're getting the kids to turn on you. And here's one of your children right here in your backyard saying to you, no, nothing's changed. We still love and care about you. We're still going to have a relationship with you. And
of course,
he doesn't hear any of that. No,
he doesn't hear anything. The first thing out of his mouth is, well, how long have you known? He says that to Mykelti. Yeah, bring it all back to you, Kody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's literally what happens is it goes right back to his interviews, and he's like, brings it back to him. And then Kody has these moments of awareness, like in this moment where he says, I can't take sides. I shouldn't be taking sides. And, you know, I can't, but my kids are in the middle and I shouldn't be doing this. And I want to lash out because I'm mad, but I know I shouldn't. And you're like, oh, okay, here, Kody, you're kind of getting it. You're processing all this stuff out loud to us and we hear you, but none of that changes. So then there's this other part of me that feels like, are you saying all of this because you feel like that's what you need to say to make you human? Do you know what I mean? He has these moments where he's like, he has these moments of awareness, of real clarity and self-awareness. And then it all just kind of either disappears or
they're gone real quick.
Or it never comes in, you know?
And then Mykelti even says, you know, in response to his question about how long have you known, she says, well, we've known for years that she wasn't happy and, you know, it hasn't been okay. So even, you know, everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, apparently. You know, did you see that one part where they kind of flash back to Christine's packing up all her stuff and Gwendolyn comes and Gwendolyn says, things have been awkward. They should have been separated for years. She said, I think they should have separated before they even went to Las Vegas.
Yeah. And she was very young then. And the fact that she knew then when she was like, you know, 8 years old or whatever she was, even she knew.
Yeah. And Gabriel. I think Gabriel was there, or Garrison. Those two I always get mixed up. But one of them said, oh, yeah, we've seen this coming.
Yeah.
So,
and also, I forget, I think it was maybe last season or maybe this season. I don't know. But anyway, Janelle said that her kids have been telling her for years that she should leave Kody because they don't like the way that he treats her. So this is nothing new. And Cody's like, oh, I'm always the last to know. Or it's like, oh my God. And And then he says, he's so, just then he goes back to anger and he's like, I'm so angry. I want to blame someone. I want to break something. I mean,
yeah, the only person you have to blame is you, Kody. You. Well, and also I want to act at the end of the episode. I have some questions because as I've been watching and going back and watching all these old episodes, I do often sit there and ask myself the question, like, is plural marriage a good idea? Does it work? Is it better than quote unquote monogamous marriage, or is it, I don't know. I keep going in circles with this. So we can talk about that towards the end. And then we have our very awkward goodbye. I didn't write down much about that. All I wrote was that was hard to watch because that was really painful and weird. And
yeah, ugh. Kody had a terrible attitude as usual. Mm-hmm. And and Robyn and her daughters, Oops. They were just
sorry. I just dropped something. Sorry, people.
Robyn and her daughters are just standing there like with frowns on their faces, not saying a word. Mm-hmm. It was really, really weird. And Kody awkwardly tries to talk to Truly, and Truly just looks like she has no interest in talking to him. She's very uncomfortable around him. When he tries to hug her, she just seems so uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. She could care less about saying goodbye to him.
Well, then when they're going to all say goodbye to each other, then Cody's like, all the kids try to walk towards Christine and Truly. And Cody's like, no, just me.
Yeah.
Just me. It's like, how is that going to help anything? If you're going to hug Truly and then go home and hug them, do you not understand that? For someone who yells and thinks he knows everything about COVID-19, he really doesn't. He really does not.
I mean, he had, and McKelty and Tony and the baby were just at their house.
Yes.
He suspends the COVID rules when it's convenient for him. Mm-hmm. But not letting Ariella and Saul say goodbye or have a hug or anything. I mean, it was just cruel. It was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, and he'll argue like, well, McKelty and those guys, they had, they were COVID tested and these people were COVID tested. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter. You've all been exposed to each other, right? Like,
right.
He really does not seem to understand this. But anyway, let's move on to episode 12, Life After Polygamy. So this is it. Christine is leaving. Her offer fell through, but she is leaving. Robyn says that the collateral damage will last forever.
For generations.
For generations, I'm sorry. Yeah. And what does that mean?
I'm sure.
For whose generations?
I'm sure that's something that Kody said that she's parroting. I mean, so dramatic.
I know.
It was.
Robyn is perplexing, utterly perplexing, seeing the old Robyn in these old episodes and seeing this Robyn now. And I know that a lot of people, that there's been talk that maybe she have a substance abuse problem, we might, or something. And I worked in substance abuse for a long time. And I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know why she is, if she's beaten down or slow, or if she is abusing substances and that's what makes her. But just her words, the way she speaks, the way she talks, It is really different. Really different.
Well, also, too, Kody used to be very different. He's always had his kind of core traits of being controlling and whatnot. But at least from what we saw on camera, he was a little more jolly. Mm-hmm. Like now he's just 100% pissed off, mean all of the time. So it's almost like she's kind of morphed with him or something. They're both different. They're both weird.
Yeah. So then we see Meri, who tunes in like once an episode. No one even knows where she is or what's happening.
3 minutes. Yeah.
But she's shocked that people are reaching out to her, telling her, which I assume are the fans, that she should leave Kody as well.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know I know a lot of people feel like, what's the point? Why is Meri staying? Now Meri has seen Kody say, I don't care if Meri stays or goes. But at this point in this story, she doesn't know that he said that. So I don't know why she's holding on. And then we have this whole discussion because poor Janelle is getting water from Christine's house to fill up to the RV. Oh, God. Her and poor Savannah are filling up all of these buckets of water that they, every time they need to take a shower or brush their teeth or do anything.
Well, before that, though, we see Christine actually, leave with her moving truck and pulls up later that night in Salt Lake City to her new place.
Oh, I missed all that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she to her cute new house. And her and Truly are inside and they're so excited and happy, and she said the minute she drove away from there she just felt fantastic. And I'm like, yes, I can. She just drove away from the most toxic situation, and now she was just so happy to be gone. So I was very happy for her.
Yes,
just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes.
But Janelle is sad,
that she's gone.
Yeah, because they're basically best friends and they had this unique shared experience, that's very they're bonded forever.
Well, what I thought, just to go back to the finance thing, because this is where Kody is really on Janelle about buying this house. Oh, the offer fell through. You should buy the house. And this is where Janelle says, I cannot pay for the mortgage on this house and afford to build a house on Coyote Pass, which is understandable because that's essentially two mortgages, or right. two huge expenses. So Kody keeps talking to her about it, and I'm sitting there thinking, but I just heard you say in the last episode you don't have any money. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit of like, so do you have money or don't you have money? Do you have, why, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think he wants Janelle to use, quote unquote, her money. Because I do think it seems to me that they do keep some stuff separate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because why is he asking her? And
so you think that's it, that he's basically pushing her and saying you should. Okay, that makes a lot. Now I'm understanding this a lot more. That makes a lot more sense. So Janelle is pissed because the other thing is we learn in this most recent episode is that, Janelle's very modest and does not need, she's not going to get an apartment that's super fancy if she doesn't need it. She's not going to get anything that she doesn't need. And so that makes sense. So now it's almost like, Kody was pushing Janelle to buy the house with her own money, basically, because that's better for him and more comfortable for him. That's what it sounds like. That's right. So now let's it's all coming clear now.
Yeah. And he wanted to make it like a rental property.
Eventually. Yeah.
And make money for him. Well, no, I don't know. But anyway, she's trying to tell him, well, I talked to the mortgage broker and you have to rent it out for 2 years before I could then go and get a mortgage to build on Coyote Pass. So where am I going to live in the meantime? And she's saying all these very straightforward, well thought out things to him. And he just keeps saying, well, you're not being very creative or thinking outside the box. We can do this. Why can't you? And it's like, wow, this man, he is just, he's awful with money. I don't even think he understands it.
No.
On any level.
No. Janelle does. Janelle should be in charge of all of that. I think they'd have a lot more money.
Yeah, she's obviously a good saver.
Yeah. Well, and so we see Truly go stay at the RV. Truly was very excited to go to the RV. Cute. And I would just like to say, anybody who watches, like take a step back and see, how does Truly interact with Janelle and Savannah versus how she interacts with Kody, Robyn, and her kids.
Yes.
Right? Like you can really see this difference with Janelle. It feels like an aunt or like someone really close. And this is my sibling or a cousin. And then when you go see her go to Robyn's place, it's almost kind of like she's like, oh, God, this is really uncomfortable.
Oh, that was awful.
Poor little Truly.
We'll talk about that when we get there. But
and then Janelle says, Robyn, there are a lot of so she says there have been a lot of problems with Robyn. And I'm like, okay, please tell us, what are the problems? Because Robyn, I find just utterly perplexing on the show. A lot of people, because we listen to other podcasts that recap Sister Wives, and a lot of people just really hate Robyn. And I keep trying to figure out, like, has she been doing things that I don't see? I mean, I did go and see that first season where she kicked the dog, and Robyn does not like dogs apparently. But other than that, I don't know. Anyway, but Janelle says something also very interesting, which is, she says, everything in my life, or everything's been done by committee, and it's impossible to get things done. And I think this is back to this idea of, does plural marriage work? Is this a good idea? And I think the problem is that when you're in a marriage of two people, it's much easier to get two people to agree than to get five people to agree. Right. And that is the problem with plural marriage is that you are constantly like a democratic committee. And we all know, looking at government and how slowly things work, when we get lots of voices and people's opinions, and everyone's opinions have to be heard and so on, that it takes forever. And that in order to get stuff done, you do need to make these unilateral decisions on your own. And I think, anyway, it just kind of keeps coming back to this idea of, plural marriage, should people, is this a good idea? Is it not a good idea? All of this. And it really, you're showing us very clearly that with plural marriage, someone does have to be the driver of the train, or you have to recognize that if it's really democratic, everything's going to take forever. And I think that doesn't work for Janelle.
Yeah. She says, my life is a bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, we talked about this before. Like, I think the only way that it will work, work is, doesn't mean everyone's happy, but the only way it's going to work is if, you have the husband who just kind of rules, whatever he says goes.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to
get anything done. Yeah. And then we get into the snowblower.
Oh gosh.
The infamous snowblower.
I loved how Christine really put him in his place. So she's getting the last of her stuff out of the garage, out of the house, because the house is sold now.
Yeah. But it's so interesting because she just said, oh God, I had to come back here and get all this stuff. She didn't even want to be here. And
she, probably hated the fact that she had to call Kody to ask him if he would load this heavy snowblower. And she did not want him to stay. Mm-hmm. She said, I wanted him to put that in first, and then he could just leave and I can, pack everything else myself. But of course, Kody wants to micromanage everything. He wants to do it himself. He's like, no, you should put the snowblower in last, and all this other kind of stuff. And finally she just says, Kody, I need to be in charge of this. Mm-hmm. And then that just pissed him off.
Oh, that really pissed him off. Because then I think he says this as they're pulling away. Well, you know what's so interesting too is that even then she says, Kody, I need to be in charge of this. And he's like, okay, fine. And so he stomps over and gets a snowblower and puts it in. And then even then he just doesn't pick up his stuff and go. Right. Even then he's like, okay, well, Julie, put some stuff over here and do this and do that. Like, he had to stay and still micromanage everybody and tell everybody where things should be. It's a little bit of, okay, you told us what you think and how it should be done. Let her figure out if she's going to do it or not. Yeah. But anyway, when they're pulling away, he says, maybe I should have told her I didn't like her, but I didn't. But I didn't quit. That's his final thoughts as Christina's pulling away after the snowblower maybe I should have told her I didn't like her, but I didn't quit.
What did he mean? That he never liked her or didn't like?
I honestly, I think he was, I don't know if he ever, I think he knew that she had a crush on him, that she really, really liked him. Because I've been listening to, Shit Talk Sister Wives, and they've been rereading they've been reading out loud the Sister Wives book. Yeah, and so I've been listening to them. So I've been listening to the book, and that she had this massive crush on him, that she was really into him. I think he thought like, okay, she would be good. She's going to split up these two, Meri and Janelle, which she did. She did that very well. And I think that's what, and that was what that worked for him. And he liked that. And, So, but now but now you're saying to us that you never ever liked her and that you made this ultimate sacrifice to love this person or try to love this person, hold her hand and show her that I cared.
I pretend, not because I loved her, but because it was the right thing to do or something.
Yeah. It's like, okay. So, but isn't all of plural marriage and everything you've been saying, isn't this all about the right thing to do? Right? Like the whole, you've been talking at us for years now, telling us what you need to do to make a plural marriage work. And part of that is that understanding each wife and doing any of that. And that sometimes maybe, you have different relationships with each one. But basically what you just told us was that you've been faking it with this one wife this entire time. To what? Yeah. Because to prove a point? I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. I literally think he's making this up to protect himself, protect his ego, protect his psyche. He's come up with this story.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense. And,
all right. Well, let's move to, because I'm just concerned about time. And people might have been leaving the room now. Yeah.
We didn't talk about this episode. He went out to the RV so that Janelle could show him
the plans.
Her plans.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I paid attention that much this rewatch.
She's very excited. She actually has like an architect, drew up these plans for the house, and she's trying to show him and point out all the different things. And he couldn't care less. Mm-hmm. He just acts like, the whole time he's just like, well, he said, we won't be able to build until we do this subdivision. And they can't do the subdivision till they pay off the property. Mm-hmm. And this is all, again, Kody, they could have started building out there from the beginning. I don't think they had the money to, but Kody is obsessed with getting another lot out of this, because right now it's got 4 legal lots. He wants to do a lot line adjustment, whatever, create this new subdivision with another lot, because he wants to, build on it and rent the properties. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's some kind of property mogul. That's why talking about, we're going to buy Christine's house and rent it. So this has always been his thing. Of course, he can't get it off the ground or make it go anywhere because he has no expertise in it. But now he says, and I don't really want to, we don't have the money to pay it off. Mm-hmm. So Janelle will never get to build ever. And I don't know if this is finally clicking in her head, but he's telling her point blank. Mm-hmm. She knows they don't have the money to pay it off. And he's telling her
Well, I feel like we're seeing the beginning of Janelle putting the pieces together. Yeah. I think Christine, some might say that seeing Christine leave maybe prompted Janelle to leave. And I really think that Janelle, which we see, let's move on to episode 13, which is Corona Apocalypse. And it really starts off with this conversation with Janelle and Kody. And, I think that Janelle really she saw that, yes, our kids are growing and, we have a different relationship, and let's do a reset, and we're best friends, and we're lovers, and we're this and we're that, and we're all of these things. I think that Janelle in that moment at that time didn't want to leave Kody. I think it was the money stuff that finally got her to walk out the door.
Well, and his attitude, he said several times, he says that, men don't love women who don't respect them.
Yes, men don't love women that don't respect them.
And that's his excuse for why he's not going to do anything to help her build. And he's just going to be mad at her.
Yeah. So they're at, what is it, place called Fat Olives in Flagstaff.
Well, first, this is where Truly comes over.
Oh, that's right.
And she's very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Kody says to her, well, did you bring your pajamas? And she says, no. And he's like, well, aren't you going to spend the night? He's like, it's pressure on her as soon as she walks in the door. And she says, well, Mom said it's up to me. She's basically telling him, no, I'm not going to spend the night. I didn't bring my pajamas. But he just ignores that and he says, oh, we'll just give you a big T-shirt or something. It's like,
I doubt she spent the night. She didn't spend the night there.
She did not spend the night.
Yeah. Kody, guess what? Truly would rather be out in that RV.
Yes.
With Savannah and Janelle than be in that big house with Robyn and you and the kids.
And then it was hilarious. He says, are you going to help me do my work? And she says, what is your work?
He's like, and he said it. He said, I have to build things. I need to build things.
Yeah.
It's like, build what? Build what? Yeah.
And like, you know, the Ari and Saul are all excited. And, you know, she's trying to show Kody some books that she brought. And he shows no interest in it. He does, like, barely looks at them and then says, oh, go show these to Brianna or Aurora or something. I mean, this just really triggered me, you know. It really triggered me. This, you know, this guy, he doesn't give it. He just wants her there to say that, oh, well, you know, truly came to see me. He doesn't want to interact with her. Or he probably left 2 minutes after this segment was filmed to go do God knows what, because he's never around. Yeah. No one knows what
I swear, I think Kody, it does a combination of things every day. I think one is he feels very important that he has to go. I got to go to Janelle's for a little while and like help her level the RV. And then, you know, he brings that log with him and he's like, I'm going to bring these logs. And then I think the other half of the time he binge watches like Flipping Out or HGTV shows. And I think in like Flip or Flop, I think he sees people buying houses and flipping them in this short amount of time. Yeah. And I think that's where he gets all this mogul stuff. And he's like, you know what we should be doing? We should be flipping houses. We should be, right? I'm going to buy some stuff on Kody Pass. But he doesn't get anything done. He's very ADD.
Oh, he's beyond ADD.
So, all right. Can we get to the conversation? I think I'm just excited about the conversation because I wrote some things down verbatim. Okay. Because as I was saying to you before we started recording, I got up this morning and I watched episode 14. And then I went back because I knew we were talking about this stuff today. And I watched episode 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I wrote this down because this comes up in episode 14. Very important. Very important. So Janelle and Kody are having lunch and they're talking. She's saying, we're best friends. You're my lover. You're my this, we're that. He says, we have not been acting like a married couple for a long, long time, which is, you know, very telling. And one of the issues, what he asks her in that restaurant is, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And she says to him, well, I think the easiest thing for me to do is to just go to Maddie's for Thanksgiving because everything's really tense. And Kody's, and it's because of these issues with COVID and primarily Gabe and Garrison. I wasn't watching the show at this time, so you're going to have to fill in what they did that was so egregious to Kody. But I guess they weren't following the COVID rules to the way in which he did. And because they weren't following the COVID rules, he used that as his reason for not seeing them. But his big thing, what Kody says is, I'm not going to sit and have everyone over and act like everything's peachy and fine without working things out. And he says again to Janelle, I'm not going to have them come to my house for Thanksgiving if they're got animosity towards me or someone who is connected to me. So he very clearly says to Janelle, I am not going to meet with those. I'm not going to sit here and be fake and have them over. And then she says, well, that's a little tough because they're hurt, right? And he says, maybe Garrison should reach out to me and sort of make amends, which goes against, we're going to get to episode 14, but that right there is why this whole argument in episode 14 happens. And so then we see Kody in his confessional saying, I just want to clear the air. But what you said to Janelle was, maybe Garrison should call me to make amends. To me, if I was Janelle, what I would hear from that is, you don't want the kids coming over until they've made amends with you. Isn't that how you would interpret all that?
Yeah. And she can't force them to make amends. They're adults.
Yeah. And this is the part that really, this pisses me off so much, which is that Kody is really, and Janelle is saying this and saying it blatantly, which is you're making me pick. You're basically making me pick between you and Robyn and these little kids that I barely know and my own children. And, I'm not going to sit around at Thanksgiving with you guys. I want to go be with my adult children. And that's just how it is. And how did you all think all of this was, that was, again, I think this is Kody not ever being able to think clearly 20, 30 years into the future. Because when he started having kids and building this family, he just could not get past the fact that at some point your kids are going to grow up and go away. And maybe some will stay, maybe some won't. But, of course, Janelle wants to go and be with her children, or at least some of her children, for the holidays.
Yeah, this finally occurs to him. Well, first, before I say that, it also really pissed me off that he said Garrison should try to reach out to him. No, you're the parent.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, you call him. He's an adult. And you say, hey, I want to talk about this. Because the thing that Gabe and Garrison what happened was when Kody came out with all his rules, he wanted them to basically quit their jobs, quit going to school, don't see your girlfriends, don't do anything, just stay in the house. And they were like, well, no, we're not going to do that, Mm-hmm. And so then he was like, well, you're making it so that I can't come over and see any of you guys. He blames it all on them. And they called or texted Robyn because they felt like Robyn was the mm-hmm. person who was this was really about her rules. And they said, well, I don't know what they said, but, they talked to her about it. And like, why can't we, is there something we can do here to loosen mm-hmm. this up or something? And of course that upset her. And then she told Kody and he's upset. And then there was an episode last season where they tried to talk to Kody about it, and Kody just wouldn't budge. And he was just treating them like, like I'm the father, you do what I say, or it's my way or the highway. And mm-hmm. they were just like, okay, well,
yeah. And so then Kody says something to the effect of that. So because Garrison and Gabe texted Robyn and he's saying, this is what Cody's saying, is they blamed her, which we really don't know what the text said. So we don't know if they were blaming her or not. He said something to the effect of that, they're jealous. He said that, and I thought that was really weird because, the thing is, again, when they keep talking about plural, what does it mean to, be in a plural marriage? And the way he's always described it is that, it takes so much as a person to be in a plural marriage. And when you're a wife in a plural marriage, you have to constantly be checking in with your jealousy and, asking yourself this question, like, is this real or am I really jealous? And kind of didn't, you're supposed to deal with your jealousy. And the thing is that, jealousy might be a sister wives issue, but it's not your child's issue.
Yeah.
It's not your kid's responsibility to do this. And that's the part. And I kept thinking about this when I was watching the show, which is, God damn it, these people lucked out by Logan and Aspen and some of these other older kids. Logan and Aspen, the firstborn son and the firstborn daughter, are two people that really jumped into this. And whether they wanted to or not, they both saw the responsibilities and did it and jumped in. And you are so effing lucky that they were who they were. And I think a lot of their older kids were. I don't think the middle kids so much. I think a lot of these middle kids had a much different childhood and a different experience. And so they're not as keen on all of this crapola. And they're not Logan. They're not going to just kind of, get along and deal the way the other kids have done. But that just irritated me to no end.
It's also ridiculous to say that his children are jealous of Robyn.
Yeah.
I mean, what? No, jealous of her? No. And then he says something like, he starts talking about some members of the family and other members of the family instead of just naming names. And then he says something like, something about you get He basically says that, you only get him if you're loyal to him and you respect, that he's the head of the household. So they're disloyal because he proclaimed these are the COVID rules and they didn't want to follow them. So they're disloyal.
Yeah. And jealous.
Right.
And they're jealous. And again, a child, if your child should not feel jealous of your partner, your child should not feel jealous. So there's something that you're doing wrong. There's something off here about that. If your kid feels like, because that means your kid feels like your partner's needs and wants are more important than their needs and wants. And that's a problem. But yeah, he straight out says it. Robyn is loyal to him and treats him like the head of house.
Yeah.
And that's why he loves her.
That's why everyone's jealous of him.
Yeah. So Janelle says something interesting in the at Fat Olives, and she says, the rules have changed. The rules have changed. And it's very interesting because you said this once too. You were talking about this, and I can't remember if it was on the podcast, just in one of our many sister wives conversations. But this idea of, what happened with meeting all these women that he and Meri had a fondness for each other, but maybe that's never been like a passionate love. He and Janelle have been much more logical. So that hasn't been a passionate love. He's made it very clear that he did not like Christine. But here comes Robyn, and I think, he very much loves Robyn. And I think that's a very passionate love. And I think he fell in love with her. And instead of being able to say to Janelle and other people of the family, I've fallen in love with one of these women and I'm proving myself wrong about plural marriage, that it doesn't quite work or it's not working for us. Instead of saying that, it's like, well, no, now you need to be loyal. Now you need to be like this. And now you need to be like that. Now you need to, be this way or that way. And I think that when you're watching Janelle in this conversation, you're seeing almost her like out loud realizing like the rules have changed. Like, this isn't what the marriage that I originally came for. This isn't how it once was, and I don't know. I just think that I think you're right. I think that until he met Robyn, he never really knew what love was and knew what passionate like love is. Right. And I think that's what we're seeing is this narcissist in love, which is what the show has been for umpteen years, versus sort of a narcissist who's put in his place all the time. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was very young, when he and Meri got married. He probably never really had a girlfriend before.
Well, and they only knew each other 2
months,
4 months tops. I think that they dated for 2 months and then got married 4 months later or something like that. I mean, it was less than a year, less than 6 months.
And I'm sure his dad pushed him into it because his dad became part of this polygamous sect, like later in life, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, how people who are converted are very passionate about things. So he was probably pushing this on Kody, and Kody is probably like, 19, 20 years old, and he's pushed into this situation. And then he's got multiple wives, got all these little kids. I mean, it's not a normal development. Mm-hmm. And so and it's shaped everything just his whole life. And then also the other thing that's changed, and I think it was Kody who actually had a moment of clarity and said something about the fact that, Robyn's kids are all still living at home and they have 2 little kids and they're just in a very different place than like Janelle or Christine or Meri, who, they're in a totally different stage in their life. And and when they were all like just struggling, trying to, take care of these kids and raise these kids, they had a common goal. And, and that's just, I mean, Christine and Janelle are not interested in helping raise Saul and Ariella, and Robyn's other kids really should be living on their own. She should let them go out into the world and live their lives. But it's just nothing about this works anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hear about some of Kody's hot button issues, the RVs, the dogs. Again, I'm a dog lover. So, and also the other part of it too is like, okay, you know, and so this again goes back to this idea of plural marriage and how it should all work. It's that you're not around enough to help them make decisions. So they become independent women and they start learning to live their lives independently because you're only coming around every fourth night, let's say at a good time.
Right.
And then, but the times that you do come around, you're mad that things aren't the way you want them to be. And that's part of it. You know, the thing is that if you're a man in a plural marriage, you have to recognize you probably won't have a permanent home. And in the old days, he used to laugh like, oh, my clothes are everywhere and ha, 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 ha. And you just notice, and I don't know if it's just he's getting older and he's getting more set in his ways or what, but he is, you know, what Janelle's supposed to keep these dogs on the, if she wants to sleep with her dogs, she should be able to sleep with her dogs. She's supposed to keep her dogs on the floor until you decide to show up and spend the night with her. And then she's supposed to, you know, and it already sounds like she was trying to accommodate you. Yeah. And we see this in this most recent episode, too, where he's like, oh, my side table, that's not going to be big enough for me. I need a really high light.
I need high lamp.
And it's just like, but you're here
You're never
once.
here.
Yeah, but and even if you are here once every however many days, you don't accommodate for someone for that. And if you wanted just go down a road.
I know.
So then we learn about Robyn and Kody and all the kids except for Aurora get COVID, which I kind of wonder if Janelle and Christine called each other and were like,
Yeah.
just laughing and laughing and laughing. Like, here you go. You made everyone insane with this and then you got it. And how did you get it? Because the irony. And then we get something really sad, which is Gabe talking about, so first he says he got COVID in January, which I assume was January of 2001. And then he says, I guess he didn't talk to his dad at all. And then he, on his birthday, 10/11, his dad called randomly and he was kind of seeing like, will my dad wish me a happy birthday? Will he remember it if it's my birthday? And he didn't. And that was, I mean, poor Gabe.
I know.
That was rough.
He's been just gotten,
I feel like Gabe's
of this.
Yeah, Gabe. And it is true. I think that Janelle talks about this like in season 7, and I just happened to see it, but just about how the middle kids had a harder time. You know, I do think things were harder for Gabe and Garrison and Peyton and Gwendolyn and Isabel. I think that these middle kids that were younger when they moved to Vegas and then again uprooted again to Flagstaff, I think that really affected them. I mean, the older kids like Logan and Maddie and Mariah, they all had to deal with the move to Vegas, but they haven't been yanked around as much as these other kids have. And I think that's part of it too, is I think that these middle kids like Gwendolyn and Gabe have a lot more resentment towards dad and everything that's happened in their lives.
The older kids, like I think Logan had to move in his senior year
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then like Maddie was very upset about it, and Hunter. So
they were all pissed. Yeah.
They were all pissed. Basically, all the older kids were pissed. They didn't like it. No, nobody has gotten out of this unscathed. It's
all right, Gabe. Well,
terrible.
Gabe, your birthday is my wedding anniversary, so I will never forget it.
Yeah, you'll never forget.
And then we get Meri. Meri shows up for the first time and we don't know how long. And we catch Meri in a little bit of a lie, which we caught her. She says, I've been texting Robyn and I've been texting Robyn and there was times where she sounded out of breath. And you're like, well, how do you get that from a text, Meri?
I know.
So have you been texting? Oh, so you've been texting and calling, I guess. But again, you know, isn't the whole point of Sister Wives to have someone there to take care of your children while you're sick? Right? Like this is a great example of what does it mean to be a good sister wife? Maybe a good sister wife is to go and with a hazmat suit in and help them, but not just stay at your inn and text them and say, how's it going? That's super annoying when you're sick.
Well, and all of Kody's drama.
Oh God,
about
the whole
COVID. And what makes me really angry is I'm pretty sure he wasn't vaccinated. And because I think he's in that group of people with those ideas. And also, I think it was Peyton who said on TikTok that his dad has never been vaccinated and still isn't vaccinated to this day.
Oh God.
And Kody is just being so dramatic about what he went through and COVID and how he was having like an existential crisis. And, he was just not in a good way. And it's like, well, you know what? Your COVID would have been a lot easier if you had been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Your symptoms wouldn't have been so bad. And
your trapezius muscles, my gluteus maximus muscles. It's we don't need, please stop naming your body parts. We got it. You're achy all over COVID. We got it.
His 99.8 fever. It's like, cry me a river. I mean, I'm not making light of, COVID is serious, and that's why you get vaccinated because it is serious. Millions of people have died from it. I mean, Jesus, is this not poetic justice? Yeah. This whole thing. I mean, and he's being so dramatic about Robyn being in the hospital and he was going to check himself in just to be with her. And it's like, well, you're not going to be together. You're going to be separated.
Just to be there and hold her hand.
Save
Well, everybody said that COVID made Kody anxious, emotional, depressed, that he had a breakdown. He was so just having this existential crisis in the situation. And one of the things that he says is like, I went to Janelle, which I don't think he ever did, which is begging her to have a deeper relationship with me. It's like, have you told Janelle any of this? I mean, I swear, and again, I don't know what the length of time is from the confessionals to the time that things are recorded. I don't know if it's like they do it several months, if because of COVID, they had to wait a long time. But, Kody really does, he makes up a whole new reality for these confessionals.
Yeah, I do. I think, he's had time to think about it and come up with these, because he also talks about, even though in the same breath, he talks about how angry he is with Christine, he talks about how heartbroken he was. And maybe he should have just told her, that he loved her. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell her? And he kind of says the same thing. He says he wants Janelle's help to get through the heartbreak from Christine, but he doesn't tell her that. Mm-hmm. I mean, he clearly doesn't tell people his true feelings, or he's just making this shit up for the confession.
Yeah, I think he's making it up. All right, let's move on to episode 14. We're finally here. And they say it's been a couple months. It's been a couple months since Christine has left. And it looks like they've got a fire. So I think we've moved from summer into fall. So I'm assuming this is like the fall into winter of 2021. So it's Janelle, Meri, Robyn, and Kody. They're all together for the first time since Christine left. See, yes.
Yeah, it's Janelle says it's a week before Thanksgiving. So.
And Kody really wants us all to know how much he has suffered from having COVID. Yeah. He really wants us to know that his
near-death experience.
He has had a near-death experience with COVID. And I'm sure it felt this way. Listen, I haven't had COVID, knock on wood. You haven't had COVID. I don't know what it's like to have COVID. But I have a hard time being empathetic to anybody where if you don't have the shots, if you did not get vaccinated and you want to complain about COVID. So Robyn wants to talk about what is happening. And according to Kody, Robyn is such a great communicator. She's such a great communicator. And then we get into this. They sort of talk about they talk about themselves and the relationship in this big picture, right? Like COVID exposed us. They start talking about Christine, didn't want to live in this house, one house with everyone in 2018. And I think that what we're seeing here is, again, one of the dynamics of sister wives and plural marriage, which is the more people you have and the more everybody's in each other's lives, the more that people are going to talk about each other and complain about each other. And I think that Janelle says, God, where does it? She says, Kody leaks like a sieve.
She calls him a blabbermouth.
A blabbermouth. So I think what we're seeing a lot of is that the family has been dealing with this combination of the wives would go to Kody and vent to him and say, Christine's doing this or Janelle's doing this. I'm not happy. And then Kody would take that, it seems like, and either go back to another wife or react to that wife. And instead of just being like, oh, she's just venting, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, there's no confidentiality. I mean, that's not right. That's not right. I mean, you're in a marriage, you can't have that. You can't go and tell other people what your wife told you in confidence. That's just awful.
Yeah. Well, no. And so, but we're seeing very much what is happening because nobody seems to know what's going on. Like everybody is sort of sitting, either they know what's going on and they just don't want to say it, or they don't know, they really have no idea what's going on. And there was one moment, I think right about there, where Meri, she says, I don't know, do you think I should say this? I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should say this. I don't know if I should say this. And I'm sitting in my house going, say it, Meri, say it, just please say it, Meri. And then they go to commercial, and then she comes back and then I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, well, what did she say? I can't even remember what did she say after all that. She finally reveals something really deep and meaningful. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't write it down.
Well, I remember her doing that, but I don't remember what the big reveal was looking at my notes.
Oh my God, Meri, you finally said something. Well, I do feel like in this episode, this was the first time we really heard Meri say something to the effect of, that, saying what everybody else has been saying, which is, you're mad that Christine wasn't willing to work on this with you and she just left. Well, I'm here and I've been wanting to work on this with you and you don't want to work on it with me.
That was her big revelation.
It's like, oh, thank God, Meri, you're now caught up to the rest of us.
She says that she sees parallels, the things that Kody complains about Christine. Kody did the same thing to Meri, and he's now saying he wanted to work on it with Christine, but he doesn't want to work on anything with her. That was her big.
And quite frankly, Kody didn't want to work on anything with Christine. Kody wanted Christine around because Christine had a role, and that role was to be the lighthearted one and the one in between and the one to do holidays and the one to do this and the caregiver and all of those things. That's why he wants Christine around. That's why he wants her around. And that again, we're back to the problem is that it's very, very hard to have intimate relationships and deep relationships with many people at the same time. And the thing is that you can't have a really deep relationship with Christine, but you want her, she's part of this cog of this wheel. And so what you're saying is you're part of the spoke of this wheel or whatever it is. I don't want you to go, but I don't really want to have to invest any time and energy into you. And you should be okay with that. And Christine said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, he's only saying this stuff now. And, it's true. Christine was the life of that family. Like a couple episodes ago, they did a little compilation showing over the years how Christine, had, she threw Robyn a baby shower, the woman who she couldn't stand. She threw
the one that she treated like dirt. Yeah.
Right. She threw her this big baby shower and was like playing all these fun games, like very enthusiastically, hosting this thing. She, at the holidays, she was the one who had all these traditions. And it's really true. Like, if you took her out of the equation, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
It would be so awful because I like Janelle, but Janelle's not going to be doing all that fun. She's not like fun.
No, she's not.
Christine's the one who's like, come on, guys, let's go on a hike, or let's go do this, or let's play that. She is literally the life of that family. And without her, it's just dreadful.
Yeah. So Janelle says she feels like she has to choose between the adults and her children, which is true, which is Kody keeps putting her in this place because he's mad at her about, again, we just had the conversation at Fat Olives, Kody. We all remember it, about Thanksgiving. And she tells everybody, I'm going for Thanksgiving, but I'm going to be here for Christmas. And we're starting to have, and this brings up this whole issue with Garrison and Gabe. And I just wrote a note, which is Robyn is lost. So did Robyn say she was lost, or does she look lost? Because that's the part. It's like, are you lost, or are you diabolical and not saying anything? You know, I mean, again, I can't figure out what's going on. And this is where Kody says Robyn's the only good communicator in the family. Robyn gets to the root of the problem. And then he says, plural marriage, it isn't all beer and Skittles.
Yeah. And then, and he talks about when he was saying Robyn is a good communicator, he said she has this way of circling the donkey.
Oh, yes, circling the donkey.
It's like he's taking expressions and like getting all the words wrong. I mean, you're talking about circling.
It's some kind of like country farm thing.
Well,
like the donkey and the donkey, but you put the donkey goes in the circle, and they're so stubborn that they'll just keep going until the thing is fixed. I'm like, how does the donkey going in a circle fix something?
I don't know.
I didn't understand that either. But yeah, that she is the, she's the rock for all of us.
Well, and then, we'll see, they have two outdoor meetings. Mm-hmm. The first outdoor meeting is at Meri's house.
Is that Meri's? Oh, was that her backyard? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, things got tense, but then Janelle.
Oh, that's right. Was that the one where Janelle wanted to show her plans? Was the first meeting about showing the plans? Okay.
Yeah. But it turned to, she was just she's like, well, I got to go pick up Savannah. And then they're like, oh, well, do you want to show us your plans? And she was like, oh, yeah. So, she shows the plans. Of course, Kody doesn't care. But in that meeting, it really irked me because at one point, Robyn starts crying, making everything all about her, talking about how hard it is to be a plural wife when, your husband's going through this divorce because, he thinks all women are just terrible and takes it out on you. And I'm just like, shut up. It just makes it all about her. Like, I'm so tired of her crying, her fake crying. And
there's a lot of crying. And also the daughters both now cry a lot too.
Right. I know. She's taught them.
We get a little scene in between the outdoor scenes. We get a scene of Christine in her home in Salt Lake, just living her best life.
Super happy.
And then I wrote down build a bridge with Robyn. Okay, this is where she admits, like, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to make Robyn think that I didn't want a relationship with her or her children, and I feel terrible, and so on. So now we go back to another meeting outside, and this is what we talk about the holidays.
Well, before that, Kody goes to Janelle's apartment.
Oh, that's right.
When we first see her apartment, and it's tiny.
Yes.
And he clearly doesn't like it. To him, it's just a step above the RV.
Yeah.
But, Savannah, she seemed really sad to me.
Yeah.
Like, she says something about how she hopes now he comes over more often, but when he comes over, it's more like a visit. He's not really living there. And it's just like, it was just sad.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Well, yeah. And it's sucky because the youngest kids, which is Savannah and Truly and, who's the youngest?
Well, then it would be Saul and Ari.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they were the littlest ones. But
I guess Brianna. I think Brianna is Brianna the same age as Savannah?
No. Oh, yes. I think so.
Okay.
Or maybe around the same. But yeah, I mean, poor Savannah is getting yanked around. She didn't have this big family. She had it, and now it's gone, and she just didn't have the same experience that her sister Maddie did, basically. Right. which is kind of a bummer. It is, I don't know. I mean, some of this is inevitable, having a big family, whether it's plural marriage or not. That's just kind of how it is. But so then they talk about the conversation was mainly between Kody and Janelle. Meri and Robyn were completely silent, even though Kody's like desperate to get them to chime in. And so this comes back to what I was saying earlier, which is Janelle goes back to him and says, well, they got an Airbnb because my tiny apartment's not going to fit everybody. And they wanted a place to stay and they didn't feel comfortable like coming to Robyn's or coming to Meri's or anyone else. So they're getting this Airbnb to all be together. And Kody's now backtracking, saying, I never said anything about that, about they having to have a mea culpa or they need to apologize to me. I just wanted to have a conversation. I just wanted to be, he kept comparing it to like an alcoholic's home or something. Like, I didn't want to have this alcoholic thing where we got in a fight and then we just brush it under the rug. I wanted to have a conversation with them about it. Granted, you've had a phone this entire time. So if you really wanted to nip this in the bud.
If you just wanted to have a conversation, you could have just called them.
You could have done it. But that's what drove me crazy. I felt for Janelle in that moment in time of like, wait a second. The last conversation you had with me was this, which is what we all saw. And I don't think you've had a conversation since. So then Meri chimes in. Then Meri comes in and says, oh, well, yeah, I think I've heard you say something, like basically backing up Kody. And it's a little bit like, what are you talking about, Meri? You have not been around.
You were not even there.
You weren't there. You're not around.
These people.
And again, I keep coming back to, is it a good thing or a bad thing that Robyn and Meri are being silent? Because on the one hand, you can say, God, just pick us, like talk, get in there, have a, let's, if you all want to talk and be more open and talk about your problems, then everyone needs to talk and everyone needs to share. But at the same time, if you believe that everything should be, that each individual relationship should be individual, then, okay, I can see why you're being silent. But at the same time, then shouldn't this just be between the two of you?
They're scared to say anything to him because they both know that Kody can never perceive them as being disloyal. Like Meri is desperately trying to get back into his good graces.
Why? I don't know. That's one I don't even understand that.
I don't know. She doesn't have the self-esteem. I don't know. She wants to be part of this family. I think she feels like if she leaves Kody, she loses the entire family or something. But they know that you can't say anything to Kody. He'll say you're disloyal. Because look what happens. Like he goes off on Janelle and he's just yelling at her and he's saying that she's betraying him. No respect for his COVID rules.
He is accusing her of what he's accused Christina of, which is you are turning my children against me. You're turning the children against them. And this is the thing is that one thing that people don't realize is you can manipulate kids of a certain age, but once kids get to be a certain age, you can't manipulate them anymore. You really can't. You cannot. So what is so insane about all of this is that even if that was Janelle's diabolical plan, was to get all of her children to hate Kody, she wouldn't be able to do it. She couldn't be able to do it because they are too old and they've seen everything. They have their own relationship. So the fact that he's accusing her of that is just so, like, you really don't understand people. Kids see, that's the thing. Kids always end up seeing, maybe it's not when they're, at the age you want them to, but kids always end up figuring out the dynamics in relationships. Kids always figure out dad was a cheater. Kids always figure out, mom drank, kids always do.
Yeah. He doesn't understand anything about children, child development, adults, people. He's so self-absorbed. Although he did say something about how he said, I have my own daddy issues.
I thought that was interesting. See, he has these moments.
I know. He says, and now I've passed it on to my kids. And it's like, wow. Well, can you elaborate on that? Like that, you finally said something interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then he said something about, because I have all these things like 18 months of being persecuted. And then,
his near-death experience.
Yeah. And what huge, he keeps talking about these huge sacrifices that he's made. So is his huge sacrifices that he's made loving 3 women that he wasn't really that attracted to or wanted to? I mean, really, like, what is your sacrifice that you've made? Because I haven't really seen you make any sacrifices. I've never seen you have to, from day one, we saw you in that convertible Lexus. Like from day one, I have not seen you listen, have you had to work hard, and have you had to make big choices and decisions, and have you, yes, that's called being an adult and being a parent,
being a father, being in this family. Yeah. What did
that's life. We've all had to make various sacrifices in our lives and done various things. So what giant sacrifices have you made beyond everybody else or any of the women in this family? The women have made sacrifices too. It's like, he only sees his own.
Right. And more than him, this whole lifestyle revolves around him.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
The women are the ones who are making the sacrifices, not you.
Yeah.
But you get treated like a prince.
So is Kody, and so at the end there, I was like, so is Kody blaming the divorce on the other women? Like, who are you blaming? Like, it felt like at the end there, he was blaming the divorce on his current, what happened with Christine, on Janelle and Meri and Robyn. And I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, did you not listen to Christine? She's not leaving because of them. She's leaving because of you. She never once said, I can't get along with my sister wives. I have a problem. The only reason Robyn factored into it was because she couldn't watch him having a good relationship with Robyn. I don't think she's upset with Robyn because of that.
Yeah.
She's upset with Kody.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but he's really, wow. That last episode, he was really just lost it. I mean, he's lost. He's a lost person.
He is very, very lost. Well, and so the big news over the last couple of days has been that, Janelle, he and Janelle are separated. So
they showed it in the previews.
Yeah, they showed that in the previews, but there was a bunch of, I don't know if you saw this online, people were posting.
In Touch magazine.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is In Touch, and then this is this one, I don't know if I should believe all of everything that I read, but that Christine, it's a divorce, and Janelle, it's a separation, and basically I'm dying to hear what Meri thinks, because Meri's hopefully watched the show and seen what he says. So where's Meri with all of this? And I think that he is, I think now what's different is that, I think at the time that all of this was going down, I think one of the big insecurities that they had, whether they were saying it or not, or whether they were owning up to it or not, was the show, right? Was they didn't want to lose the show because this is their big cash cow. And the show, even though maybe the show doesn't pay them, we all know, like, no one would be buying your Plexus or LuLaRoe, clothes if you weren't on this goddamn show. So, they have all these businesses and everything's interconnected to the show. So I think now that they're seeing that, now that they're filming this new season, and that they're seeing that even with Christine being gone, we can still film. I almost feel like Kody now has, he's like, okay, Janelle, you can go. Okay, Meri, you can go. And I think that what will eventually happen is it will just be he and Robyn in that house with those kids, and he will be perpetually trying to build on Kody past. And that's what it will be. And he will be, a monogamist.
Yeah, it looks like it's headed that way. Although in the previews for the one-on-one, I don't know, tell all, whatever you want to call it, he said something about how he was thinking about reconciling with Meri, but something happened. I can't remember what. And I was like, what? Huh? Really? Like, of course, Meri, I'm sure, would go for it, but Boy, he's really,
stringing poor Meri along.
He's like, wait a minute, I'm losing wives. I've got to have at least a couple.
Well, and the one of the things that we're talking about, one thing that we haven't talked about is what does all this mean when you get to the celestial kingdom, right? The religious part about it, right? Yeah. And so that Kody's mad because he keeps saying a divorce on my record, on my record. So what is, if one of the reasons why you're doing this is because of your faith, then what is God going to say to you when you get to the pearly gates? Like, oh, you got this divorce, Kody, what's happening? But maybe that's changed for him and he feels like, okay, maybe I don't believe in this anymore.
Yeah, if he truly believes in it, that's probably one of the things he's most angry about. Mm-hmm. Like all the things he says he's angry about are not the real. I just think it's just his loss of control, the religious stuff, the television show, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's panicking.
I know it's funny because you watch the show and you do wonder, like, what would have happened? Number one, what would have happened if there was no show? If Robyn had come in, what would that be like? And what would have happened if Robyn hadn't come in? And I really do think that if the show hadn't come about and Robyn hadn't come about, I think they would have all figured out how to make this work. They would have all sort of lived this out. But, I think that the combination of the show and I think that that's what's turned him from this kind of jovial, fun, kind of crazy guy into who he is today, I think is the ego of the show. And I think that he's gotten a lot of negative feedback about himself. And I think there's a lot of anger there too of I'm misunderstood, I'm persecuted, nobody understands me, blah, 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 blah. So,
yeah, I think it's mostly his loss of control over his children, control over his wives, control over his life.
Yeah. But the other thing is what I don't think he has a job. Like I said, I think he makes things up for himself to do during the day. And then when he's not, he's watching HGTV, dreaming about being a real estate mogul.
Yeah. Well, I believe he does sell guns at gun shows.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that guy, Brian?
Brian, yes.
Yeah. Who he officiated his wedding. I think that's his partner. And they go to gun shows. And so, yeah, Kody can't ever, he's too egotistical to like work for somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And also I'm sure he sells more guns because Kody Brown.
Yes. There is. Yeah.
People know who he is. And if the show goes off the air after a few years, people aren't going to know who you are.
Yeah. That's why people want to stay on TV.
Yeah. Look at the Kardashians.
Yes. So here we are. Woof, this was an hour and 36 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
And we went through that pretty fast. There was so much.
There was so much more.
So much more that could have been said.
Well, Brooke and I we've been talking about, and I would love to hear from you, our 2 or 3 fans that are out there.
There's a few more than that.
So we're talking about, because this has been the most popular and we do obsessively like to talk about it. We're thinking about doing a separate bonus rewatch of just the seasons, like one season at a time. So if anyone has any deep thoughts or feelings one way or the other, please email us at psychlegalpoppodcast@gmail.com and let us know if you are interested or not in this. I think we might do it regardless.
Yeah, just for fun.
Just for fun. But talk about each season.
Yeah, and then we'll do it after this.
There's only one more episode. There's only that wrap-up episode, that tell-all.
Not necessarily, because I looked last season, they did 3 of those.
Oh, so you think that it could be like a tell-all, and then we're going to show you a bunch more, and then a tell-all, and then we'll show you a bunch more?
No, they're going to have last season.
3 episodes.
They had 3 tell-all episodes. Well, they call them one-on-ones because they don't all sit together.
Want to be on the same couch.
One-on-one things. But yeah, it was 3 episodes, and way more stuff happened this year. So I imagine they're going to have at least 3 episodes of that. So we'll come back after those have aired, and we'll do we'll discuss those.
Yeah, it's hard. This was 5 episodes. It's hard when it's this many. Like there's a lot. And that's the whole thing about Sister Wives. Tons of things happen, but yet nothing happens all at the same time. And
a lot is said though.
Yes. And it's just, that is what's fascinating about the rewatch is everything happens, but nothing happens. Like the conversations are the same, but each conversation you're getting a little bit more, and you're getting a little bit more of the dynamic. So it kind of hooks you in. You're like, I keep wanting to watch this weird show. But we are talking about the same thing over and over again. I mean, like when they were in Vegas, it was fleeing Vegas and the kids hated it. And then it was like, okay, we have to get into these houses. Okay, how are we going to, like seasons about how to get in these houses. Now we're in the houses. Okay, we're in the houses. We're in the houses. Let's thank Kody for driving us to Vegas. Okay, we're talking about Vegas, houses. I mean, I'm talking like six seasons just talking about these Vegas houses. So, but yet fascinating at the same time. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. We so appreciate it. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, and so that you can download every single episode. Also, please go to Apple and give us a 5-star review. Write a few words if you can. Say how great it is. And even better, recommend it to a friend or two so that we can continue to grow. All right. I think that's it.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me the sunshine. Give me a dew. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and a cool, refreshing mountain dew. Give me my good friends, give me a dew.
Grab some friends and an ice-cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.